Moving on to Article 51, another zoning bylaw. We have Laurie Connors here to talk about Article 51.
All right, so this one is a controversial article. So this would eliminate the Zoning Board of Appeals' power to issue use variances. So essentially what this means is that the Zoning Board of Appeals currently has the power to provide exceptions to the use table. So in particular districts, certain uses may be prohibited, or they may be allowed in some places and not in other places. But this power would enable the Zoning Board of Appeals to grant relief to allow uses that are not normally allowed if the specific application meets certain criteria. So some deem this as kind of flying in the face of the intent of zoning, because your zoning tells folks what they can do with their property. So they feel that there should be no exception to that. You should just follow along with what the use table says. And if you want to provide some other alternatives, then you can go to town meeting and you can modify the use table to allow a different type of use. So the reason why this is controversial is because some applicants may not be able to wait a year or so to go through the process of changing the zoning for that specific area. So they like to have the flexibility of going to the Zoning Board of Appeals at any time during the course of year and getting that relief. So that's what this article is about, is whether the town should continue to grant the power to the Zoning Board of Appeals to issue use variances, or whether it should eliminate that as an option.
Thank you for that. Do you want to just roll right into Article 52, the zoning map rezone of industrial area of Southwest Connector?
Sure. On your screen, you'll see a orthophoto which identifies the key parcels of land that would be affected by this zoning change. So this land is currently off of Southwest Cutoff. It is an industrial district. However, there is also an overlay district that applies to this land called Major Commercial Overlay District. And that overlay district allows a variety of commercial uses to be developed at the site. And for the most part, those are the uses that have been developed in this area. So there are a couple of exceptions, Kimball Gravel Pit, of course, and then there is a storage facility that also exists on Route 20. So these are really the only industrial uses currently located within this area. So the proposal is to create a zoning environment that is more in keeping with the residential uses that exist within the area, Avalon of Northborough, as well as the commercial uses such as Northborough Crossing.
Thank you for that. Do you want to move to 53?
Sure. So Article 53 provides the parameters for this new Highway Business Southwest District. So I already mentioned the types of uses that are currently located in the area. So the idea is to create a table of uses that would allow commercial uses that are compatible with what currently exists to be developed there. So the bylaw specifies the dimensional requirements for the district, as well as site design standards, off-street parking and loading requirements, and sign requirements for the district. So the only uses that will become non-conforming are the gravel pit and the commercial self-storage. And it's important to note that these uses would be classified as legal non-conforming. So that means that they can continue until the use is abandoned for a period of 2 years. or the subject property is changed to a conforming use. So once it becomes conforming, it cannot return to non-conforming. So it's important to also note that this advances a 2020 master plan goal to continue to support and manage commercial development outside of the downtown, particularly along Route 20 and Route 9, considering adjacent land use compatibility in the town's preservation priorities. So we are trying to do exactly that with this article.
That's great. So 54, we can move right into off-street parking and loading.
So this problem became clear this year with one of the development proposals that was before the Zoning Board of Appeals. So in this specific location, there was a proposed ice cream shop located on Route 20. And we realized that the language in our zoning bylaw didn't make a lot of sense when you had a building that was not parallel to the road right-of-way. So we are interested in clarifying the language so that it specifies where parking will be located between the building and the road right-of-way. So what this says is that the parking must be located either to the side or to the rear of the building, measured from the nearest point of the building.
Thank you. And Article 55.
So this one provides for two new uses in town called co-working space and makerspace. So these are uses that have become popular over the last few years. So co-working space envisions kind of an office environment where people are working from home mostly, but occasionally they want to mingle with others, and they want to share tools, printers, faxes, and the like. So this would provide the opportunity for them to do so, and it does specify that co-working spaces can be allowed in all business districts. Then in the makerspace, this is more of an industrial type use, like a light industrial use. And it's kind of the same idea, where people who create products, like maybe carpenters, typically they are working out of their homes, but they may need to borrow tools. They might not want to invest in expensive tools on their own. So it would provide them an opportunity to work together in a space and share resources. So that type of use would only be allowed in the industrial district.
It's good for economic development purposes as well.
It is.
It's a good thought. 56, the groundwater protection overlay. You want to cover that?
Sure. So this is a twofer. So this is Article 56 and 57 because they're very closely related. So this would be an amendment that would address a major impediment to downtown revitalization efforts that was realized during the process of doing the 2024 Downtown Revitalization Plan report. So it would make all commercial uses that do not use toxic or hazardous waste, two-family dwellings and multifamily dwellings by right uses if they exist within Area 3 of the Groundwater Protection Overlay District. Right now, these uses trigger a special permit process, which is scary and tends to turn off certain folks who would otherwise develop in our downtown location. So new construction and significant additions must adhere to the same performance requirements as if they were special permit uses. So we are still protecting groundwater and surface water despite this change to the zoning article. And it would eliminate the mandatory increase in the minimum lot size to 20,000 square feet when lots are served by public sewer. So right now, in the underlying zoning district, the minimum lot sizes vary from 4,000 square feet to 15,000 square feet. However, it is absolutely impossible to develop at lots at that size because of this groundwater protection overlay district. And that means that 58 lots in Northborough Center are considered non-conforming. So we are trying to address this concern. And usually there is a mandatory upsize in the minimum lot size when you're trying to accommodate a septic system. But in the downtown area, it's completely unnecessary because all of the lots in the downtown have access to public sewer. So these very large minimum lot sizes are unnecessary.
Great, you want to go to 58?
Okay, so the next one is also aims to address a recommendation in the 2024 Downtown Revitalization Plan report. So that document has been super helpful and has given the planning board its marching orders on a number of points. So one of the observances that were made by our consultant team is that the business signage in the downtown is inconsistent in its age, quality, design, location, and size. So this amendment provides the Design Review Committee with the advisory authority to review wall, projecting, freestanding, awning, and permanent window signs within the downtown business district. And it'll provide written recommendations to the building inspector. So the building inspector is the permitting authority for signs in Northborough. So they will provide their written recommendations to the building inspector, and hopefully he can recommend to the permittee to make modifications based on those recommendations. Then there's another part of the article which would loosen the residency requirement for the Design Review Committee members. So right now we have certain professional qualifications that we are seeking for membership on the Design Review Committee, such as 2 architects and a landscape architect, as well as other design professionals. And unfortunately, we have been unsuccessful in our ability to recruit architects and a landscape architect. So what we're hoping to do is, by loosening the residency requirement, we can recruit somebody who may work in town but doesn't necessarily live in town to serve on the committee.
Can I just follow up on the timing of the turnaround from the Design Review Committee with the signs submitted to the building department? Under 40A, the building inspector has 30 days to issue or deny, or it's deemed approved, I think, under 40A. So how would that mechanism for timing work for the design review to give them the recommendations back to the building official? Is that addressed in here at all?
Yes, we did talk about this because that was absolutely a concern. So what will happen should this article go through is that as soon as the building inspector receives a sign permit application, which would be in the downtown business district and would trigger this type of approval, he will immediately convey that application to the Design Review Committee. And then it will be up to the Design Review Committee to meet. So they will most likely have to have an extra meeting. So it will be up to them to meet and to prepare their recommendations within the 30-day time frame. So should they not be able to meet, then the building inspector will just make his judgment on the sign application without their recommendations.
Okay.
So it's still 30 days regardless.
I just thought about process. People might ask that question, so.
Yep.
Again, we're encouraging folks to call us ahead of time with any questions that they have. So the planner's office or my office, we will get you information if you have questions ahead of town meeting. So we want to move on to Article 59?
This one's very easy. So this would be a slight modification to the language pertaining to exterior lighting. So the planning board wants to adhere to the dark skies guidelines, which are kind of the standard nowadays for exterior lighting. So our lighting requirements haven't been updated in quite a number of years. So this would just be an update to go along with today's trends in exterior lighting. So this would also be a modification to the site design standards. It would only apply to developments that are going through site plan review. And it has to do with buildings themselves. So what it says is that metal or fiberglass as a primary building finish material shall not be used. So we don't want any glass skyscrapers in our downtown area. Flat roofs would be allowed, however, they must put a decorative cornice or a parapet which would hide rooftop mechanicals.
So 61?
So 61 is an article pertaining to signs. So it would allow window signs, permanent window signs, to be installed within business districts. So this would be something new. They currently are not allowed. It sets a 30-day deadline for the removal of permanent signs once the business has ceased operation at the site. It also limits the period of time for temporary signs to advertise a special event, so that will now be capped at 30 days per year. It increases the size of the wall signs in the highway business districts. So the highway business districts include Northborough Crossing, so we're talking about very, very large buildings, and the maximum size of a wall sign in that district is ridiculously small when you're looking at the facades of those buildings. So we've been regularly granting dimensional variances to allow larger signs. So this would correct that problem. And then it allows, it adds historic signs, markers, and municipal plaques to the lists of signs that don't require a permit. So we have one roadway, Harrington Lane, that is proposed for acceptance at town meeting this year. It's a small roadway. It's about 500 linear feet. It ends in a cul-de-sac, and it only serves 3 single-family homes. So the developer has been working diligently through the public acceptance process, and he's in the final stretch right now. There are a couple of punch list items that he's working on, but we are hopeful that he will be ready for town meeting at the end of the month.
And the road has to be to our specification before we accept it.
That is the case.
Yeah.
So should the town meeting choose to make the public roadway and make the roadway public, then the conveyance will happen a few months after that, usually in August timeframe.
Great. Thank you.